Are we? Can you see us now?
Did we do? Even refreshing, it stays offline. Wait, here it goes. Give it a second.
Yes. Are we there?
We did it! Woo! We did it? Okay. Did we do it?
I don't know.
I don't know if we did it, but we sure did it.
Good
job, everyone!
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Thanks for letting us know. But anyway, so
damn Twitch.
Tom's Magma Smith gave me the inspiration for our guild master Merrick. And for me, at the time, it wasn't set in stone whether or not this was going to be a thing that we're definitely going to do, or we're going to distribute that and put our efforts into somewhere else. But this was one of those, kind of when you're crocheting or knitting, you leave a little loop that you can come back in and tie something in. So it's kind of the epitome of the master craftsman. This guy is a Magma Smith. He does it all. So maybe someday, you, get Merrick's hammer, and it's super cool. There's some way to tie that back in, with the outfit and everything. So you can, start to establish that lore. But even if not, I still wanted a way to, nod to its existence, so that when you saw this character, you could imagine that.
Right.
The Animal Tamer didn't get a cameo like that. I still really like that Merburly Hands got a
I just
got a promotion.
Want to go back to
the Animal Tamer?
No, the chat for a minute.
Okay.
So Big J Dog 1 says, as a background project manager, the problem with crowdfunding can often be that if you don't have great planning at the onset, the community often isn't trained to see the real world challenges and often doesn't have enough info. If you don't have a solid, diverse team to get out great planning, you end up where we all are, a bunch of fans with super love, aiming as high as possible, and having to accept where we land, whether we like it or not. Yes and no. We did do a lot of planning, but again, I think that any project, a creative project is different. And, what we didn't have at the beginning was an in-depth understanding of how people played and how people might want to play. And that was something that we developed as we went along. So there was a certain amount of planning in terms of what we thought we were going to put in the game, but what you think you're going to put in the game, they say that no plan survives contact with the enemy.
No plan survives first contact.
Yeah,
no plan survives first contact.
That when it gets out there and you start going, you realize that a lot of your assumptions might be wrong. So
are wrong.
So yes, planning is instrumental at the beginning. But again, I think that what we're delivering here is a game that's very much in line with the idea that we had. Iron Axe TX asks, how in depth is the modding tool? The modability is really, there is not a tool. It is a suite of tools, but it's pretty comprehensive. We're also developing a modding guide that will come out more in the coming months. And Relis, who actually started also as somebody who built mods and was out of the community, she's working to build up the modding guide, and she's been working with us for quite a while now as both our QA person and also providing us guidance. So there will be a lot more, even beyond what there is there now. There'll be a lot more available for you to do your own modding.
Why Census was asking about the art book for Kickstarter backers to Steam as DLC. We're actually putting that together.
Yep.
So that is happening.
The art book is coming.
We're compiling all of our sketches and bloopers and fun stuff.
Right, and the original soundtrack is also coming. There are ways for you to wrench that loose from the game right now.
Yeah,
but we'll make that available and shout out to Raj, who I think was on. I saw he was on earlier. Raj, the game would not be what it is without your music. It's really awesome.
Honestly, I say this to anybody, but the music is the first piece for me of Stonehearth that was this world is telling a story beyond the look of it and what it is. It has such a quality to it that just makes you believe that it is a place where these extraordinary things happen. You can get swept up into it. It's been a huge inspiration for me working on art. That for me has set the tone for it. That and Tom's loading screen art has been my go-to. As just the core spirit of the feeling that drove the creative direction of Stonehearth.
Yep. To me, a lot of what Stonehearth is and this is where the music comes into play, is I think one of my favorite piece of all of the Lord of the Rings movies is the first 45 minutes or an hour, when you're just in the Shire, and it's so peaceful, and the music is wonderful, and Raj's music reminds me of that so much. And I was just playing the Northern Alliance the other day.
It's incredible. Like, it gives you chills.
Yeah. Was that a pun?
Unfortunately.
Okay.
See, now I have to die. This is how it ends.
So, so I think we have the best soundtrack of almost any game out there.
It is phenomenally beautiful. Like, and there's so much just like emotion and so much character in each of the soundtracks too. From kingdom to kingdom, like, you listen to it and you can get a sense of the characters. Like, you can play through time progression and you can read the dialogue, and the team has like really poured their heart into making sure that as you interact with each of these kingdoms now, like, you have a sense for who they are. You're not just, I'm green mode, I'm red mode, I'm blue mode in the snow. Like, they each have like kind of a philosophy from where they come, whether it's like optimism or like cunning and crafting or this kind of like deep relationship with cycles and seasons. But that's it first happened in the music. Like, you have such a sense of who these people are when you hear the music. And like, for me, my favorite pieces are actually all of the nighttime tracks. Like, there's one in Raya's Children that just it has the sound of like deep bells, and it is extremely haunting and extremely good.
But for those of you who also, there are a lot of questions about the modding. If you have specific modding questions, wait until Angelo's on. He's a great person to ask.
You should definitely come back for...
Don't ask us, because we don't know.
Also, Max and Mally at 3 and 5 are going to be doing the modding Q&A in particular. So that would be an excellent time to come in and bombard everybody with your delicious modding questions.
Microlost 0077 asks, do Hearthlings dream of cubic sheep? Actually, they dream of disco sheep. We have to find...
Where are they?
It was
guys, this is a huge oversight. We have to start over.
Repeat Pan's disco sheep. We have to find them.
Where are they?
Repeat Pan, if you're on. Where I don't know
Google
where it is
help.
yet.
Wait, is this actually going to help?
Could we?
No, this is Minecraft. This is wrong. This is shirts. Google, you failed me. These are pictures of shirts.
Well, if you never saw the disco
don't
sheep,
Google that.
You are well. I mean, it's not like something horrible comes out. There it is. Repeat Pan is
Yes.
Thank you.
Amazing. Prepare yourself. No, full screen.
Full screen. Wait for it.
Wait. Okay, yeah, we're good. I love that they're like thinking about it. It raises questions in my head. It's like, wait, sheep know what speakers are?
It's like 2001.
I guess.
Woo!
Oh no, they do flips. This is amazing. So this is what's really happening. Like, everything is serene and like the Shire and beautiful, and then like when the Hearthlings go to bed.
When they go to bed,
the sheep get wild. It gets rowdy up in here. Look at that dancing. Oh, that kind of looked like the little Harold dance. He does a little circle bob.
Yeah.
Mally made the duck do the most beautiful victory dance.
Bless you, Repeat Pan, for creating.
Thank you. This day is now blessed.
So
this is horrifying. Get out of here. Wow, YouTube.
So if you want to know what do Hearthlings dream of, that's what they dream of.
They dream of disco sheep.
They do.
Why can't we have Hearthlings do this every now and then, says Michael. See, that's a really good question.
Make a mod.
I just
want... disco mod. The most popular mod ever.
Yeah, but like... My heart. There are still like
Tell me you don't want to see the goblins disco.
I would give anything to see the goblins, like, just you're doing your thing, you're building your town, and you look over and there's just like flashing lights beyond the trees, and like the goblins are just like they're taking some time to throw a party. They don't care. They don't have time to siege your town all the time. You can keep your doors. Party time. I love the goblins. Anyway.
So where we? Oh, you were talking about the.
Oh,
in there. Yep.
I pulled up the animal tamer while you were
Right.
talking about that, but I think we have moved on.
Yep. Shall we? Well, we can do a couple things here. One is we can go back and look at Alpha 1.
That was before my time. Do you want to
We
drive?
can. It's there. It's in the. Where's the? It's on the drive.
Okay, I know where it is, but
yeah.
I'm offering you the reins because I feel like this is. Oh well, except I'm bad and I forgot what window I put everything in. This is cool. Okay, so we're in here.
Streaming.
Where you want to be?
200 alphas and Stonehearth A1.
Brace yourselves, guys. It's gonna get really crazy in here. Wait, what do I click on?
Stonehearth.
Download? Wait, we have to download it?
Shouldn't. Where is it?
I want to download it.
Is it? Or just go back for a minute. Scroll down. Is it?
Mm-mm.
So that's all that's there?
That's all we got. We might have to talk about some things while it
Okay.
downloads.
Okay.
This was an oversight on our part.
That's
Open
weird.
with?
Okay.
Nope. Alright, well, it shouldn't take too terribly long, so.
It's scanning for viruses. There are no viruses.
Well,
we're gonna
sometimes
look at that.
Windows, sometimes Windows thinks there
So
is.
we'll take a look at
Windows protects us from our own game all the time.
at Alpha 1. Also, we want to go back and take a.
See, look at what it's doing.
Is it?
Stonehearth is not commonly downloaded and could be dangerous. Keep.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, cool. It downloaded in a flash, in fact.
Okay.
Oh, Windows protected us! Guys, look! We're so safe. More info. Run anyway. Well, that's fun.
That's weird, because it was working on my machine yesterday. Okay, forget it.
And that was the game!
Yeah. We will skip the alphas.
Are they all gonna...
But shall we... the other thing we wanted to do was to go back through sort of the history of the game as told through the splash screens.
That's actually a really good way, because the way we do the splash screens on... I'm still really disappointed, though. I wanted to actually look at the games. What is this YouTube you shared? I want to click on it, but what was I talking about?
Splash screens.
Anyway, but so
Yep.
one of the way we do the way we do splash screens on Stonehearth is they are fun to do, fun art. Yay, it's Stonehearth art. I love it. My background is in illustration, so I freak out at the chance to do stuff like this. But what they're really designed to do is like celebrate and emphasize like whatever major thing it was we were working on for that entire alpha. So they're actually really good bookmarks for that.
Yeah. And actually, if you go back to that in the 200 folder, I think we have the splash screens all the way back to 1.
I do.
Oh, you have
They're
that?
here.
Okay. Oh, good.
I've got splash screens, and I've actually got I tried to find more of them, but I actually got some of the sketches that we threw out for a couple of the splash screens, because I thought those would be fun to go through too. So I am to understand that this is like the first ever.
Yep.
This is a geomancer. We were dreaming of geomancers.
Yep.
Back in Alpha 1.
Yep.
So what would have happened if
It's
we'd
really
been?
no, she's discoing. It's the disco.
You know, you're right.
Yeah.
This is
There
a
we go.
speaker.
Yeah.
And that rabbit is just like getting down.
Yep.
This one is getting down.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Continue.
So why did we have the geo? So
It was,
I didn't
it
do this.
wasn't-
This
it
one
was
was
just
Tom.
it was just Alpha 1.
So this was just like Stonehearth hype.
Yeah. I mean, here it is. Here's the world. So it wasn't
Oh,
What
so
was-
like actually like raising the world.
Yeah.
I have questions about this character now.
Okay.
Is she like
Ask
some?
Tom.
Is she some kind of like strange Stonehearthian deity who doth create the pizza box, and these are ancient giant rabbits? Is this in fact rabbit?
What do you want it to be?
Everything.
Okay, there we are.
I see it. There it is. It's the lore of Stonehearth, and now
So-
we have like this
Yeah. So there wasn't.
deity
I mean,
Stonehearth that
the
didn't
first
exist.
the first alpha was just. I think there was some very rudimentary building.
Was this
you know-
before we had roofs?
Yes, I think so.
That-
There was prior to this. There was actually like a tech test where all you could do was look at the pizza box and sort of like some of the landscape laid out. So this was the first piece that you could actually interact with. So it wasn't like here's the feature in this thing. It was just like this is just like the first iteration of a Stonehearth where you could build something simple.
So that was the goal of that particular. Yeah. Okay, cool. Moving on to Alpha 2. So I have a fun story about how I learned about Stonehearth, but I'll let you talk first.
No, go.
So when I first came onto the team, I'd never played Stonehearth before, and my interactions with it were every now and then, like, Tom would pop over my monitor while I was drawing, like, Fight Boys, and be like, hey, you want to help us make a splash screen? And then I would look at his art for the game, and just, like, it was just my heart. It's so good. It's so cute, and, like, of course. So I really, really enjoyed doing it. And when I came over to the team full time, it's like, oh, this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna be able to, like, help make assets. I'm gonna learn how to do all this stuff. I get to keep making art. And Stephanie comes over to play Stonehearth with me for the first time, which is a great experience because, again, I'd never played it before. And the first thing she does is she promotes a trapper and makes a little trapping ground. And I'm just like watching. It's like, oh, this is so neat. This is so cool. And then I witness a little fox just get trapped in the box, and I'm just like, how far are we gonna go with this, huh? What's going on? And then the Hearthling walks over and, like, stands by this little fox, and you can see the fox in the box. You can see his little eyes, and the Hearthling's like, shaka, 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 and then there was just Jerky, and I was just like, I know nothing about this game. Where am I? This world is harsh and terrible.
What, you wanted it more explicit?
Well, I was just like, I was expecting there to, like the box closes and, like, shakes, but you don't see the cute animal inside being like, please don't turn me into Jerky. Heartless. I've gone numb to it by now, but, like, I remember just being so horrified.
Stoneheartless.
Leave. Okay. But anyway, so, yeah. Oh, he signed it. That's cool. Yeah. So in Alpha 2, the major feature we were celebrating was, in fact, the horrible trapper.
Right, which we actually revisited later on, but yes, that was...
How did the trapper used to work?
I mean, I think it was just like, did we think that was too early? Because it was... The trapper is...
So, wait, that's right, because it's like, houses still don't have roofs, but you can catch rabbits.
Yeah. Well, food, shelter...
Roofs. Roofs are a part of shelter.
Roofs.
You just hide under a pelt.
Ask Klochek why there weren't roofs.
Hide under a pelt.
Roofs are hard.
Well, yes, they are.
Voxley roofs are hard.
So the one of the earliest things I did on the team was fighting with the builder, and roofs are very hard. Roofs are terrifying. How many times did we build those templates to see if they would build them? Like 50.
Yeah.
Bad. So we implemented another means of securing your survival, of catching some game, so everybody would have something other than, wild berries. This was probably long in advance of the cook.
Oh, yes. In fact, the cook, I mean, that's another one where Froggy actually created the cafe mod before we introduced the cook.
Oh, no kidding.
Because people were asking for, like, what do they do? Are there recipes? Are they just eating raw food? But that was another one where he did brilliant work on that, but also... we saw that this was something that, I mean, I think it was in the roadmap, but we hadn't gotten to.
I want to make sure that we're not leaving people behind.
Right.
We haven't been good about this.
Oh, yeah.
So this was Alpha 3. What was the driving force here, other than
berries.
Wait. We could murder bunnies before we had berries?
I think the murdering of bunnies was in, and then it was out for a while. I think we, like, pulled back on the trapper at some point, but...
And this guys, this is how we prioritized back in the day. Cool. Anyway.
Jerky is more fun than berries.
I mean, if you like watching little scared, terrified animals in boxes get, like, magically turned into... Like, what even is that process? Like, how does that even work? You just know voxel wizardry and you just poof deconstruct it.
Yeah, isn't it like, wouldn't you prefer the poof?
Yeah, I do.
But
I think the part that I struggle with...
Instead of, like, the flaying and setting
the part I struggle with is the anticipation, because I had no idea what to expect. Okay. Like, I was just like, is he going to let him go? Are they friends now? No, this is a trapper. There's going to be murder. Yeah, there's going to be murder.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
But, oh, right. Repeat Pan's right. He said berry harvesting was an alpha one. So, the first few alphas, the splash screens were not so much about here's a new feature. It was more like these are scenes from the world.
Oh, okay. So these weren't. We didn't get into the tradition of like we worked on this and that's what this is going to be about. Yeah. This was just like we're just going to keep updating the artwork. I noticed too, like the style shift like in these two is these are like really clean and really like super realized. This was also on the Radiant website like way back in the day. I remember seeing this before I came out here to meet you guys. So, like, this character right here was kind of my first impression of everybody. What could this be?
Again, I think these were still just... It was more like scenes. I'm not sure if that was when we introduced the Weaver or not, but it's... again, most of the early splash screens
And this is when we invented math.
Yes, we added math to the game. Because before then, there was only literature.
No, I always really like this one. It's super cute. Yeah. I like the space math up here where you can't really tell what in the world's going on. It's super good.
He's trying to figure out how to make a roof.
It's honestly to this day. Yeah. Yes, that is the Weaver. I'm sorry, I was being sarcastic. Yeah. This is the Weaver weaving a shirt. What's really great about this is, like, this is a sewn garment, and the Weaver is, like, weaving this off the needles as a sewn garment. That's intense. That takes skill. And here we've got, like, a scene with Shepherd. I really love this illustration. It is so adorable. Got the little guy. It starts to loosen up a bit in here, too. Like, there's a few more, more free strokes in here. A little less of the, like, super hard cell shady. Blacksmithing. I think we were still dreaming a bit of the Magma Smith too.
I think most of.
I love this illustration so much.
Yeah, we've used this one over and over.
It's so good. Like this rabble back here with the eyes and just the silhouettes and the knives and stuff, and then this is like little stumpy guy. Just like, how do you not love the goblins? It's amazing. So this wasn't like the advent of combat in Alpha 9. This was just like goblins are here.
I think we.
Oh, this is kind of like a rehash of the girl on the hill.
Yeah.
But now we're on a. Yeah. So this wasn't celebrating roofs.
No.
Okay.
No. Again, it wasn't. Until you came along, we weren't as.
Okay, so this is
feature focused.
So this is just something that you guys made up, because.
Well, it was just more like these are scenes from the world. And if it had something new in it, we added that in. But it was more like these.
But that part is not true, because the other ones you're just telling me now are just like, oh, these are just scenes from the world. But this one is like, oh, by the way, this alpha is about crates. Can you make the illustration about?
Well, you fell for it.
I did, I guess. Yeah. I didn't even think to ask. Yeah. I was just a tender shoot at the time. I didn't know any better. You guys are.
This is when we
you guys are tricky tricksters that murder little voxel foxes, and I don't even know where I am anymore. Anyway, this was the time I made an illustration about a hearthling carrying too many carrots.
And a crate.
Because
the feature was about crates.
I think there was an outtake of this one, but I don't remember where it is. So this is going to be kind of... I really wish we could open 2 of these. I bet we can. Hang on a minute. You know what? I'm going to do some wizardry. Because if we can open 2 of these, I don't have to go back and forth so much. Because some of these do have outtakes, and I enjoy them. Tim drives. Can't believe you guys. I only just now find out. You waited to tell me until after we launched the game that it's just been BS the whole time with why we do things the way we do. And I'm sitting here telling the streams like, yeah, so the way we do our illustrations is we use them to celebrate a major feature. And I'm going through all of Tom's art, and Brad's like, nah, this is just the thing that happens in the game.
Yeah. No, it was scenes from the
I made you tiny pies! And this is what... I'm mad.
And they were delicious.
I'm mad.
Did they have fox in them?
No, they have chicken in them. Anyway, I'm all worked up now. Wait, wrong.
No, we reached a point where it was time to start featuring features.
I guess so. So that's, I guess, a fair enough question. So, especially with Alpha 1, it seems as though, like, the landmarks there were hazier anyway. Like, the milestones there weren't even that set in stone. So at what point...
Worth also noting that, so the first Alpha to Steam, when we moved to Steam Early Access, was Alpha 10.
Oh, dang. Okay, so that was, just before this guy.
And then we followed it with 10.5 sort of as a quick fix that was like a couple of weeks after, and that was the first week of June 2015. So from then on, when we moved to Steam, we knew that we were now addressing a larger audience, and that was when we also decided to start focusing the splashes a little more. And there you were.
I guess so. And
gullible and willing. Who
was I? Well, this is illustration. Yep. Someone comes up to you and it's like, "Can you make an illustration about how cool ants are?" And I will make you 50 sketches, and then we will go in deep about this because that's how we're wired. But anyway, so I remember for this illustration, I don't even remember if I got walked through these. I think I remember seeing this one, but so you'll notice that when we switch from Tom doing the splash screens over to me doing splash screens, like the style becomes kind of sketchy and loose again. And there's always going to be some, like with just a handful of exceptions, because I was experimenting with kind of a return to the higher fidelity style. I was always like kind of trying to bring in that handmade quality that I really loved about the loading screens in particular. Like I loved that looseness, and I wanted that to kind of come in and be part of it. Though over the years I had like mixed feelings about the success of it and whether or not it looked professional enough to be like art for a game. But I still really love this one as kind of a first foray into it.
But if you go back, all of these are, there's in some cases like they're standing on a parapet or wherever, but these are all very much character driven.
Yeah.
And yours have the characters, but they also have, it's the environment.
Yeah, they became less about a character like doing a thing and more about a concept.
Yes.
And oftentimes that concept was more powerfully told by something happening in a scene than a scene between just like a character standing in space going hi.
Right. Yeah, these are stories.
Yeah, so in this one it's like, well, how do we talk about crates? What are crates for? They're for like moving a lot of things. Let's really exaggerate it. Let's make it silly. And so you have like the Hearthling like, overburdened with carrots, and the little block carrot monster back here, doing his thing. Also, you'll notice that the world is deceptively spherical here. So I have some explaining to do, I think. And then, so this was actually a collaboration between me and Tom. Tom drew the thing and I colored it in like an afternoon.
This was also
Feed.
But it was, I think this is when we named the Poyos.
Was it? Okay, so that's interesting. Poyos used to be called Buck-Bucks.
Yes.
And that's why Duck Duck is called Duck Duck, because Duck Duck is a prehistoric buck-buck. I feel like I sound ridiculous right now, so hang on a minute. Buck Duck Duck. Hang on, I have proof. Goose! So... Wait, no, hang on. Those aren't desert monsters. These are desert monsters. So, Duck Duck here was a pitch for a monster that you would find roaming around in the desert. And in the heart of my imagination, I dreamed of a prehistoric buck-buck. So it was like this like giant raptor chicken. It was just like predominantly beak and teeth, and I guess a shaky tail. And today you have Harold, who comes in and like waves his butt at your banner, which is a wonderful experience. But anyway, they used to be called...
So they were Buck-Bucks.
They were Buck-Bucks.
And Tom decided that he didn't like Buck-Buck and we needed something else. And I suggested Pollo, and he said, but that's Spanish for chicken. And I said, not if you spell it P-O-Y-O. And that is why they are Poyos.
And that is why they are P-O-Y-O Poyos.
Yeah.
My denial won't allow it. I feel the same. Like, there's a part of me that's just like, what was wrong with Buck-Bucks? I mean, Pollo is cute, and it's easier to say determined Pollo than it is to say determined Buck-Buck. It just rolls off the tongue better.
Yeah.
Bring back Buck-Buck. See, now we've started something. So
but Buck-Buck was denied.
So
Duck Duck.
Clearly, Alpha 12 was about the renaming of Buck-Bucks to Poyos.
Oh yeah, only about that.
Only about that. That was the entirety of the patch notes. Buck-Bucks renamed to Poyos. I liked the little flowers in this, actually. I remember doing these and just feeling nice about them. Like, bringing in that airy blue just, like, really helps things feel very free. So this is a dirty lie. I never made this as a splash screen. These were these were pieces that are when you play a game of Stonehearth, you'll find them during Embarkation when you fill in the story as you start your game about the settlers that you pick and the world they're going to embark in. And this was these were the pieces for Raya's children, and I guess Tom just sneakily appropriated them for the splash screen for, what was this, Splash 13? Alpha 13 then. I can count.
But we also, remember, Raya's children came together much more quickly than we had anticipated. And we were like, okay, what are we going to do? And we have this piece, we'll just use that.
Yeah, I mean, this about sums it up. Like, if you'd have come to me and been like, hey, make a piece about Raya's children, this probably would have at least been one of the sketches. Because it's like, hey, we want to show off how cool they are, we want to show off their uniforms, we want to show out where they live, because that's part of the attraction. Though this is, like, well in advance preceded things like seasons and weather and things that at the time would have given the world that kind of, like, colorful cast to it that you see in the game now. The desert used to be either white or purple, depending on the time of day. But again, you create these illustrations not as like a direct representation of what you see in the game, but in kind of like that translation that you have in your brain, similar to like art that you see in like old video game manuals, where it's like, you know, you plug in your Nintendo cartridge and everything is like kind of wacky and chunky and only made of 3 colors, but you look in the manual and you realize it's like, you know, that blob of squiggles is actually this epic 2-headed spider, and then like you have that whenever you look at the screen, that filter. So that's kind of the same thing with each of these. You're not directly drawing what you see on the screen, but you're kind of bringing it back up. Also, you may not have noticed that my Hearthlings got really short again. Some of the feedback that I got the first time I drew them is that they were too tall. So you'll see kind of the proportions getting squishy here and there and getting played with here and there as we continue to like fine-tune what the Hearthlings should look like aspirationally.
And for those of you who are wondering, before we get to this, which is spectacular,
Panic
is all of these will be in the digital art.
Oh shoot!
What?
Spoilers.
What?
There we go. No, not you. Sorry, I had the wrong thing and I broke everything.
Oh.
I actually have sketches for Panic. So, yeah, I think this actually had to do with these monster sketches that I showed off a little while ago. Tom asked to just, like, let's brainstorm, let's be crazy, let's come up with monsters that live in the desert and in the forest. And the idea here would be, like, you would see these critters, and they would really kind of help create the narrative of that space. You could look at them and imagine, like, what kind of environment creatures like this should live in. And that was always a really powerful motivator to me. It's like everything that you see in a world has that potential to tell you something about it. So in the desert, you see a lot of armor. It's like a little fiercer. The shapes are longer. You get more bugs. You have like rover. Actually, that's not true. We've got spiders and stuff in the Ascendancy. Well, we don't have them now, but when we were thinking about it. But anyway, so this was like me looking at monsters in either the real world or a little bit in mythology and stories, and giving them that kind of Voxley Stonehearth twist, which mostly involves just giving them a really huge head, as it turns out. But no, there's
so for those of you who are modding,
if you're modding, the secret is big head, big hands. Everything else doesn't matter. No, that's not true. That's a horrible exaggeration. But that's kind of the starting point. You just
spawned a whole slew.
That's
of
what
mods.
The style guide says.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yes, by the way, the style guide will be... Is it available, or
I think
it will be available?
So it should be. If it is not available, we need to be making it available, because we have stuff for, like, making traits, we have stuff for making models, and these are all the same guidelines that Tom started and we've, like, iterated on the team, and I took some time, like, capturing that later. La Michelle says, the snake looks like Arbok. Basically, yes. So I wanted the Cobra to have like a terrifying face, and I was actually leaning on an indie game that has some kind of upsetting sprite work that is supposed to give you nightmares, and I was just like, oh man, wouldn't you like give it a weird, terrifying, melty face? But its actual face is just really cute. It's got like 2 little eyes and a little snake smile. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to tell in Stonehearth voxels, but in my mind, they would always be doing that. But anyway, so kind of cycling back up before I get too far into the weeds, Tom asked us to kind of like go nuts and brainstorm on like what the monsters of these various lands would look like. So I was really interested in creating critters that appeared to have come from those environments. Like Gator here became the Varanus. This was inspired by, why am I doing this? I learned something just now. This is inspired by a certain enormous beast that lived in sewers where I grew up. If it rained too much, alligator snapping turtles would come out of the ditch, and they were enormous, and they could run and jump, and they hissed, and it was so scary. They look like Bowser. So the inspiration would be like, oh, you're in the forest, you have like a river cutting through, and maybe there's a chance that you...
That's why Allie came to California.
Well, I lived in Minnesota before then, so...
But Yeti.
I mean, Yeti's alright. But anyway, so it's like, I would imagine, oh, you have the temperate, you have all this water, so maybe you have like river monsters, you have like a gator. Kelpie was kind of a joke animal. I imagined this would be like a chance encounter where you'd run into this thing, and it was kind of like a mystical unicorn. It didn't really mean you any trouble, and it was super rare, but it's also just like really derpy. And then like there are people that get too into it and like wear armor inspired by Kelpie. Forest creatures like the leaf bud. Bully became an ostrich. Originally it was inspired by geese, which are probably the most wicked creatures on the planet. I don't know if you've ever had a goose encounter. You'll also notice that we've got a couple of stabs at like what like mega boss tier monsters were, and some of these were pitched as titans for a while, like the Hush here. He was a shadow monster who just delights in making everybody anxious. But anyway, so we did all that, and we picked a couple of those, Tom modeled them, got them in the game, and for the art to come out with it, we wanted to do something that really celebrated that. So everybody you see in Panic here, and it's so named because when Hearthlings freak out, they panic and run away. He hasn't quite noticed what's about to happen. The Poyo has begun to panic. So all of these are a few of the critters that you already see in the world, and just a handful of the new ones. Like actually, this is kind of a lie, huh? So we had a model of Doodle long before Doodle was in the game, but here's the Varanus. The Ent Mage wasn't in yet either. Neither was the Pumpkin Kid. Hey, now that I think about it, a lot of these things didn't actually end up in the game. But I know I saw models for these because they would not have been illustrated if we hadn't done that. You know what? I'm pretty sure we went down the list together, and that's how all this came about. But then, like, going forward as we're iterating in real time, like, we just ended up deprioritizing some of these. But you did end up with the Gigas, who are now known as stone golems. I guess at some point we thought we might do a wooden one, because this guy's texture...
You do have wood golems.
Like this? You have Entlings.
Not like
Entlings.
that. Yeah, the Entlings.
Like the little cutie guys. Like, this guy looks like the golem. I'm wondering if we didn't talk about this at some point.
But the Entlings, the stone golems, I mean, those are the elementals. And, like, we didn't...
Oh, you know what? Yeah, this guy was originally supposed to be, like, super dangerous.
But this was when, this alpha, we put in a lot of new monsters. That was the theme.
Yeah. Oh, shoot! I keep forgetting to click on things. And actually, these are the concept sketches for that illustration. So, we talked a little bit a while ago about, like, you tell me to make an illustration about crates, I'll make you 50 drawings that kind of attempt to get the idea across. Before we go anywhere near final art, we share like really rough and fast doodles that attempt to capture the intent before we spend like hours and hours and hours drawing a thing. So in this one, this ended up kind of being like a situation of like, what's the tone we're going for? Do we want to say with the bringing in of these monsters that now you're going to be heroic and defend your standard from like hordes of these creatures who are coming out of the tree line, like, you know, nature is fighting back. Like, I really love how epic this is, but it's not very Stonehearth. It is very epic, but it's not at all the game that we were making.
Yeah. Side note: this was also why, if you roll back to the Cthulhu in the Kickstarter trailer, you've got this giant monster coming in. You've got this giant monster here, and I remember having some initial discussions about, okay, how are we actually going to have them defeat these monsters? Because all they could really do was hack away at their toes, and that just wasn't going to be satisfying from a combat, which is why...
And funny enough, we had this discussion like at the point where we were making this
exactly. That's
ago. And go figure, we continued to have this discussion long thereafter. But anyway, we ended up going with this one because, like, yeah, it's dangerous and there are all these monsters, but it also has almost that tone of like sweetness to it in the obliviousness of the farmer and what they're doing, and everybody like rushing in to get them.
And if you've ever had a farmer who was suddenly overrun by Entlings.
I love this guy, though. He's just like party. There was no party goblin when this guy was drawn, but this is probably like proto-party goblin. What were we doing for Alpha 15? This must have had something to do with building optimization.
We did some more building optimization.
Yeah.
And because of the scaffolding. And
yeah.
You'll also notice that one of Allie's signatures is we worked in Poyos in pretty much every splash screen.
We didn't start doing it intentionally until I think Alpha 17. Like, at that point, it became like, no, there has to be a Poyo. But up until then, like, there was just, like, strange joy in making sure the Yardbird was somewhere in here. And over here, like, you wouldn't be able to see this unless you, like, clicked over and, like, that got out of the way.
My favorite is the little goblin.
Yes, this guy up here. He's just like, I'm gonna start a ruckus. He's gonna start a one-man ruckus. So this illustration, I think, was the last time I tried to draw the Hearthlings like they were made of parts and not as, like, whole characters. So everything really kind of blew open with Splash 16. Like, this image for me anyway solidified, like, okay, this is how I want to draw Hearthlings. This is, like, the movie that plays in my head when I watch them interacting in the world. Like, the proportions, just, like, the stylization, everything in here. And, like, it was fortunate, too, that we had, like, a variety of characters, like, between the ogre and the little goblins. I really wish we'd gotten to draw more kobolds, because this little guy was really fun. But this was, like, the piece that defined the 2D art style for Stonehearth. It was, like, a bunch of combination of mixed media, and there was a lot of struggle from this one on to figure out a way to make it a little less time-intensive, and in the end, I actually basically ended up coming back to it.
And this is where we introduced new combat classes.
Yeah.
We dimensionalized combat. So you've got, this is where we had, the cleric comes in, the knight, the archer, and the foot soldier that you already had.
Right, because before then you just had the footman. And actually here was another version of it before we settled on that. And, like, this was fine, but it was so much more satisfying to, like, really open up that circle and have everybody interacting together. This is so chewy looking. I love rough sketches. But yeah, like, this was just, like, way too static. Not fun enough. Not enough stuff going on. Like, well, I'm reading my book as fast as I can. This one was hard. We did a lot of this one on stream. Like, I remember doing that with you guys, just trying to map this space. The engineer and the stairs tool were a really big deal.
Yeah.
So we made this about the engineer and stairs.
Right.
In the most ridiculous way possible.
And this is when Allie started to play Hide the Poyo.
Yeah, so I think there are still people who haven't found the Poyo. Should we tell them?
Tell them. It's Re-Embarkation Day.
Fine, just because it's Re-Embarkation Day. Can I zoom in? Can I zoom in? He was here the whole time, hiding under the lamp, right next to the knight. Oh, interestingly, you should also... No, stop. You should also note, from time to time, when you see characters... Like, if you see a knight or if you see a footman or other characters that have appeared in other splashes, the next time you see that character, it should, most of the time, be the same character. And that was to start creating, like, a forward narrative. Even though these pictures are kind of nonsense, like, they're not exactly celebrating something that happens in a particular town or a particular group of people, it became kind of important to create that continuity. So it's like, oh, hey, you see these familiar faces, you kind of have that tie together. It's just kind of a fun shout-out. So this was meant to be like, oh, this is the same knight from the previous splash, tying it into this brand new scenario.
Raj says, this was my favorite piece. I wrote a whole new battle song just because of this battle art.
And it's an amazing song. Like, I remember hearing that and just, like, being floored. Boom! What did we do in Alpha 18, do you think?
Boom. Building destructibility.
Yeah, which wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So here's another version of that splash that is super Looney Tunes, and I think we vetoed it because we didn't want people to get the impression that there would be, like, TNT plungers, that this was a thing that could happen, but I still really love this stupid drawing because you just have this, like, oh no, what did I do?
But isn't it? It's like the Warner Brothers cartoon.
Exactly.
When they're setting it up and they always have the plunger there, and like the bird flies in.
And it's like they walk off to like go have lunch, and you know the Poyo flutters down and just breaks the whole building. You've got like chair legs, and like the piggy bank is upside down. Oh, here's a baby Poyo. They're hiding there too. And then here's the sketch for the one that we ended up going with. And I think we ended up, no, we didn't crop it. That actually ended up being incredibly close.
Yep.
BP Bird didn't make it in. As they so seldom do. I'm sorry, Repeat Pan. Repeat Pan said, I did make TNT, though. And then on to Splash 19, which was, well, we've got tier 2 buildings, so I think this was when we rolled out that stuff.
And conversations.
Well,
thoughts, yeah.
Thoughts, right, this was thoughts.
It was thoughts before conversations.
I really do wish you could have this interaction with the goblins. I think at the time, too, we were also designing desert creatures, which is why this goblin has, like, the bone head and is wearing red. And I don't think these made it into the game, though we do have the models for them. And yes, there's also a hidden normal Poyo right here. They're not all quails. This one's regular. This really became a thing. Everybody would be like, "Oh, you're working on the splash screen. Where's the Poyo?" And I'm just sitting there like, "But I just drew like 10,000 houses and stuff, right?"
It's your own fault.
No, but where's the bird? It's like all I need to do is just draw a Poyo somewhere hiding in like an I Spy, and that's all. Come back here and I shall taunt you again, says Spellblade.
Whoops.
Ghosts.
Oops.
Haunted. I don't think I have any... Oh, I do, actually. So this went through a couple of iterations. It didn't have characters in it before. So these were just showing off, like, the Tier 2 establishments and Raya's children.
Yeah, that's Alpha 14. Oh, that was just who we used.
No, this was it. And the feedback from this one was just
but we're
like...
beyond 14.
This is 19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it says 14.
Oh, right, so I made this 100 years ago. This is my template for when I do these, and I always draw the sketches with the UI inside of it so I don't accidentally draw something important behind it. Okay. I know that about half of the image is weird, but like I want it to flow into it. So that's why like things like go like just underneath and like have that whole like visual thing. But the feedback from this one is like, yeah, we really should add the characters. It just makes it more engaging. It gives you kind of that dialogue to go around in it. And, like, honestly, this to me was more refreshing than doing another Escher's staircase type thing. Even though, like, I really loved this whole, like, looking over the edge, like, down into the city. That was a cool vantage point. This was Alpha 20. And we worked on, moods, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if everybody catches this right away, but when you go down the line... For each of these, like, they actually go through the different moods of the Hearthlings. Like, you have Jubilant, you have Merry, you have Contempt, you have Glum, and you have Forlorn. And then you have two, like, little baby birds rocking out. So it wasn't only just, like, this aspirational picture of, like, a band of Hearthlings embarking at sunrise. It was also doing double duty of, like, talking about, like, what the feature was about. And the Poyo was not even bothering to hide this time because, I mean, it would have been distracting. For this one, we had introduced traits.
Yep.
We actually don't have the outtakes for that one, which is terrible because one of my favorite outtakes was for this piece, and it's basically got, like, I think a shepherd, like, just losing his mind because a goblin, like, stole a chicken, and he's, like, got the hothead thing and is running after him, and it's just really funny. But we went with this one because we wanted to show a variety of Hearthling preferences. One of which is, of course, hothead. Like, I still wanted to keep the angry guy in there somewhere, but also, like, vegetarian and also carnivorous, as well as animal lover. So, you know, the pet fox is here kicking over the tea and, like, setting this guy off and setting the bird's tail on fire. So, like, you have this entire, like, cycle. I guess this character is also a glutton because there's, like, just tons of stuff everywhere. But anyway, the point was just, like, pack in as many of those Easter eggs as possible, but still keep the entertainment, like, really lighthearted and really entertaining. Oh, bye, Cassandra!
Bye, Cassandra! Thank you! This is Conversations.
Conversations with Splash 22, and the style got, like, really, really clean here. This was an experiment, and I ended up abandoning it because it was really hard to do without making the images feel super static. And in this one, they're having a conversation about hats, and obviously...
Go. Do you like my hat?
But that's not what it's about.
No? That was Go Dog Go.
But this is the War Poyo now, because this Poyo has donned the helmet of the footman and is marching off somewhere. And here were a couple other versions of that. And I think we picked this one because it does have like that kind of humorous second look part to it, where it's just like they're having this and it's like, oh, are they talking about hats? And then you look over, it's like, oh no, this is what they're talking about, and this is why the shepherd is here, because it's like, oh, their bird took the footman's helmet. But other versions of this was just like, we should just show like two characters deep in conversation, including like just the symbols, like, because that was another part of it. Like, they have opinions on these things. One was like a little bit more like just direct, like you to a hearthling, but it didn't work. It was cute, but it's not great. And then of course this was the sketch that made it, because it was just, it's funny. So that's the one that we wanted. It had to have like that charm. Unfortunately, I think those are the ends of the outtakes. This one, Splash 23, was about item quality. So we wanted to create an illustration that showed like a hearthling with a lot of really cozy, wonderful things, like nestled in a bed, all comfy with their fox. And then this other hearthling might just be starting out, you know, their plant doesn't look so great, they've got a mean bed, which was really fun to draw. I remember getting really obsessed with these boars, just like, I want to make them so soft and chubby looking. But everything is like really bare, and there's like a chicken in your bed that may or may not be their pet. And then like actually doing a direct call out to item quality, right up here on this tapestry where it has like the like symbol. And that actually, this is the very last one. So I just finished this, recently. And for this one, like, how do you make a piece of art that's just about Stonehearth? Like, this was our 1.0 art, and this was by far the hardest one. I might cry a little, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you captured it. It is. I mean, this is what the game is about. It's this little crew that you have who build their place in the wilderness, and they're together. And that's kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit of a metaphor for our team, because we started small and we grew a little bit bigger, and we built something that we're very proud of. And no, we didn't do absolutely everything that we thought might fit in, but we're also really delighted that
I'm not sad. I am sad. But yeah, Dimu was saying, no, don't be sad. It's like, I'm not. It's just emotions.
Yeah.
I cry very easily. This is... Whew. I knew this was going to happen. I knew that when we got to this one, I was going to start bawling, so bear with me. I wanted... Come on, words, you can do this. I wanted to create an illustration that, kind of like Brad was saying, brought everybody together. And I mentioned a little while ago that you'll see, whew, this is hard. You'll see characters repeat in the splashes, and with this one especially, I did want to kind of put, like click together all that continuity. So like, here is the footman and the cleric from Alpha 16, this is the carpenter from the workshop, this is the shepherd from Hey, Where's My Hat, and is still struggling with a Poyo giving trouble to the rest of the town. This Poyo in particular is kind of a symbol on our team. This is Determined Poyo. I think Angelo is really responsible for giving this character life, and he's always sparkling, and he's got these big, dramatic, determined eyebrows. We've got a character up here, like, working on the roof. This is a re-embarked character from the splash screen with the lady waving down to the goblin. Now she's over here in this town. And this is the very same character from Alpha 20's splash art, like, where once she was holding the standard, now she's gonna light the hearth.
It's okay.
Silly, right?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, somebody just said it's like seeing your child off to college.
Basically.
And, yeah.
But that's the other part of it. It was my goal with this was to bring everybody together and to make sure that this image didn't feel like sorry.
It's okay.
Whew. I can do it. To make sure that this image didn't feel like it was saying give me just a second, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That it was saying goodbye or the end. I wanted it to be apparent that this town that they had built together was still in progress, that they were thriving in it and living in it, that it wasn't just like set and forget and done. And that's why, like, you know, the standard is in the middle of the scene, like this is the center of the town, this is what it's all about, but it's also centered against like foothills and mountains that go back into the sunset, which is more to say where are we gonna go next?
Right, and the story is still going on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not over, and that's why it's Re-Embarkation Day. It's not, you know, you're not going to see us around. We're not going to be doing the streams. But,
yeah, Shanga's saying, "Hey, look out there in the mist is us, the chat lurking in the dark."
Yes.
But you're not wrong. Is the thing, like, if I remember pitching this at lunch and getting some feedbacks like, wow, that sounds like it's gonna be really terrible and busy, and I'm like, oh, you're probably right, we should rein it in as much as we can, but still I wanted so bad to put everybody in here,
and you did.
Oh
so
boy,
that's about our time. We're going to go and cry. Stephanie and Luke are going to take over. Before we go, it's Stephanie. I stole all the donuts.
I cried on the stream.
You cried on the stream.
Achievement unlocked.
All right.
So as Allie said, this isn't goodbye. The story's going on, and the story is yours now. You get to decide where it goes, and we hope we've given it a good start for you. In particular, I'd like to thank those of you who have inspired us all the way along. That includes you, Raj, Kythandra, who got off, who continually made things that we didn't think were possible in the game. We'd come in and he'd send us a build of like a cathedral or something, and we didn't even know it was possible to do something like that.
I mean,
yes,
amazing.
he did it. I want to thank Froggy and Michael Handy and Deluxe, who came with us to PAX in 2016 and really at PAX for the first time to show off what the community was capable of. And lastly, I want to thank our community moderators, who, you know, don't get nearly enough credit, but those people who help stay on top of the discourse and guide you, and that's Joe Maxrow and Megashub and Visa, Steve Adamo, who popped in yesterday for the first time in ages. Thank you, Steve. Jeffer747 and 8-Bit Crab. All of you guys, we could not have done this without them, without all of you. So